Hello, YouTube, and the rest of the world. This is my analysis on how these two Texas officials, Greg Abbott, current governor of Texas, and Ken Paxton, current attorney general of Texas, are overstepping their boundaries concerning the separation of powers amongst the legislature, the executive, and the judicial branches of Texas government. It has been said that current United States President Donald Trump has requested of Greg Abbott to generate 5 more Republican members from the state of Texas to the United States House of Representatives. To appease Donald Trump, Greg Abbott has included in a special agenda item of redrawn Texas congressional maps to allow for the political favor, which in all honesty is entirely unnecessary. In response to Greg Abbott's special session item, Democrats from the Texas House of Representatives have left the state of Texas to prevent a quorum. Greg Abbott has alleged this, leaving the state of Texas as an abandonment of office, as well as the Attorney General of Texas, who both have petitioned the Texas Supreme Court for a declaration of abandonment. The question is, does the executive branch or the judicial branch get to determine abandonment for any Texas legislature? I answer in the negative. Here's why. All right, let's go see something first. First, we want to go to the Texas Office of Attorney General website so we can pull up that emergency petition or that petition to the Supreme Court. Let's say Texas Office of Attorney General. They already know what I want. I want this first link that Google brings back. Let's click on it. All right. News and press releases. Attorney General Ken Paxton and Speaker Dustin Burrows take action to enforce arrest warrants for rogue Democrats in California. Attorney General Ken Paxton secures major victory. Attorney General sues Robert Francis Beaufort. Attorney General Ken recognizes. Attorney General Ken files historic lawsuit. Oh yes, this is what we want. This historic lawsuit against Democrat runaway. All right, click on this. Attorney General files a lawsuit. Sure, we want the actual petition. Let's click on this. All right, here it is. All right, so petitions for writ of quo warranto. And so what this quo warranto means is that there's a question about the validity of a certain person's authority to hold office or any sort of authority in office. And I guess they're looking for a removal. They'll be looking for a removal of that particular person from that office. All right, petition for writs of quo warranto. It's Attorney General. Identity of parties, the realtor, state of Texas. And this right here, this particular line is almost bogus for some other reasons, but I'll explain that later. Respondents. So here we see there's a list of respondents, and these are 13 Democrats from the Texas House of Representatives. And so what we need to understand is these are the Texas House of Representatives, not the United States representatives. All right. And so there's statement of facts, argument. Okay. Let's go down some. State of Texas brings this original proceeding for writs of quo warranto. Respondents, 13 members of the Texas House of Representatives, have fled from the state with the intent to and for the admitted purpose of interfering with the operation of the legislature. Well, those people are the legislature, and if that's how they want to operate, that's how they want to operate. All right, because respondents have abandoned their offices as state representatives, the Attorney General, on behalf of the state, seeks a declaration that those positions are vacant. Okay. The court has jurisdiction under the Texas Government Code and Paxton versus Annunciation House. Okay. Issues presented. The Texas Constitution confers on the legislature the power to physically compel the attendance of absent members to achieve a quorum. This is very important. That says only the legislature has the power, not the executive, not the judicial. It strikes a careful balance between the right of the legislative minority to resist legislation. Sure. But what I want to do is I want to go down to something what they said. Statement of facts. For the first 2 weeks, special session, respondents 13 Democratic members, which are among more than 50 Democrats who have fled the state for the express purpose of denying the House a quorum to do business and thereby prevent the passage of certain legislation that they oppose. There's nothing wrong with that, opposing legislation. Each respondent has released a public statement admitting that the purpose and intent of the absences is to disrupt the work of the House. That's not an abandonment, it's just that they are absent. In one respondent's words, their departure means that the special session is over. Sure, and they will do everything in their power to prevent the legislature from having a quorum to conduct business. Okay? Sure. Sure. All right, so here's what's important in that particular state of facts. It says that Governor Abbott ordered the Texas Department of Public Safety to locate, arrest, and return to the House chamber any member who has abandoned their duty to Texans. Now, if those members abandon their duties to Texans, why would it be important for the Department of Public Safety to go and arrest somebody who's abandoned their duties? You could just have new elections for those districts. All right, and Attorney General Paxton warned that the continued refusal to perform legislative duties by Texas House Democrats who broke quorum constitutes abandonment of office. So again, if they've abandoned office, there's no need for the Texas Department of Public Safety to locate and arrest them. They've already abandoned office. So, what Texas could do is just have new elections. But let me stop it here. We have to actually discuss this a little bit more. Okay, so this particular paragraph is very important because Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton are describing those Democrats who left the state of Texas. They're describing their absence as abandonment of office. And now um, we have to understand that Governor Abbott and the Attorney General, they derive their power from the Texas Constitution and from the legislature. And so, really, the only power that Governor Abbott has over the legislature is that of vetoing any bills that they might pass. So, Governor Abbott, he can veto bills, he can pass bills, or he can call what I call special sessions to get the legislature to meet and pass some types of um, special acts for the state of Texas, and that's really the extent of Governor Abbott's power over the legislature. And then we have the Attorney General. I'm not really sure that the Attorney General has any power whatsoever over any legislature outside of or while they're in session for official acts. I don't think he has any power, nor does the judiciary, because also that judiciary, the judicial branch, which for all intents and purposes for this video is the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court derives its power from the Constitution and that of the legislature. So if the Constitution or the legislature didn't grant any power to, let's say, the executive branch or the judicial branch, then they don't have it. And so what that means is um, Governor Abbott, he may be able to define abandonment for the executive branch, but he cannot define abandonment for the judiciary or the legislative branch. And that's the same for the judicial branch. The Supreme Court cannot define abandonment for any legislature, nor can the Supreme Court define abandonment for the executive branch outside any higher authority in the executive branch directing that abandonment on a lower executive officer. And so how do we find out about this? Well, we have to go and look at some different information. So let's do that. Okay, so let's check out some different evidence, some different type of information to guide our analysis. So what I want to do is I want to type in Texas statutes into the Google search form. Oh, can't spell Texas. Texas statutes, we want this first link. And so, this particular website, if you want to learn about Texas government, anything about Texas government, this is a good starting point. And so for this particular video, let's click on this drop down, Texas Constitution. Let's see, powers of government, separation of powers of government among three departments. The powers of the government of the state of Texas shall be divided into three distinct departments, each of which shall be confided to a separate body of magistracy, to wit, those which are legislative, those which are executive, and those which are judicial. And no person or collection of persons being of one of these departments shall exercise any power properly attached to either of the others, except in the instances herein expressly permitted. All right, let's go back. That's the executive department. So here, the executive department defines the attorney general and the secretary of state, lieutenant governor, commissioner, general land office. Let's see, but this doesn't have convening the legislature on extraordinary occasions. Oh, so here, section 8 of article 4 details on how the governor may on extraordinary occasions convene the legislature at the seat of government or at a different place in case that should be in possession of a public enemy, or in case his proclamation therefore shall state specifically the purpose for which the legislature is convened. That's pretty important because this defines one of the powers over the legislature the governor has. The governor shall convene the in special session to appoint. All right, sure. That's nothing. What about approval of veto or bills? That's the governor. Approval, veto, or resolution. All right, governor, lieutenant governor, seal state, commission, secretary, attorney general. The attorney general shall represent the state in all suits and pleas in the Supreme Court of the state in which the state may be a party, and shall especially inquire into the charter rights of all private corporations, and from time to time in the name of the state take such action in the courts as may be proper and necessary to prevent any private corporation from exercising any power or demanding or collecting any species of taxes, tolls, freight, warfare not authorized by law. He shall, whenever sufficient cause it, seek a judicial forfeiture of such charters, give legal advice to the governor and other executive officers, and perform such other duties as may be required by law. See, this particular section does not give the attorney general any power over the legislature, nor does it give the attorney general any power to define official acts of any legislator of Texas. All right, so let's go back. Let's see about the judicial department. All right, so this judicial clause is long, but here, somewhere in here, they have the writ power. Shall exercise the judicial power of the state, except as otherwise provided in this Constitution. Supreme Court to issue writs of quo warranto and mandamus in such cases as may be specified, except as against the governor of the state. So here, we can find that there is some limitations on what the Supreme Court can do. And here, one of those limitations is that they cannot compel the governor to perform any act. And so this is important. The legislature shall component provided by law for appeal direct to the Supreme Court of the state from an order of any trial court granting or denying an allowing permanent jurisdiction. All right. Yeah, so we really don't need to read any more of this. All right, so for the purposes of this video, to make our analysis a little quicker, what we can do is we can perform a Control F. We can do a search on the word abandonment. Let's say abandon. See, abandon does not appear any time in this particular document. And which document was this? All right, so the Judicial Department. So nowhere in the Texas Constitution in Article 5 does it mention abandon. So there's no power for the Judicial Department, at least here, to define abandonment for any legislature. So let's see if we can go back to the Executive Department. All right, perform a Control F and abandon again. Again, abandon does not appear in Article 4 of the Texas Constitution. Let's go to Legislative Department. Abandonment does not vacant. Vacant appears 2 times. President pro tempore, Lieutenant Governor vacancy. The Senate shall at the beginning and close of each session and its may necessary elect one of its members, President pro tempore, who shall perform the duties of Lieutenant Governor in case of absence. If the office becomes vacant, the President pro tempore shall sure. If senator or representative remove his residence from the district or county, his office shall thereby become vacant, and the vacancy shall be filled as provided in section 13 of this article. So the only time that a vacancy occurs for any senator or representative of Texas is if his residence is if he moves his residence from that particular district or county. And then we have to go back to section 13 to see how that vacancy shall be filled. Let's see. When vacancies occur in either house, the governor or the person exercising the power of the governor shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies. And should the governor fail to issue a writ of election to fill any such vacancy within 20 days after it occurs, the returning officer of the district in which such vacancy may have happened shall be authorized to order an election for that purpose. The legislature may provide by general law for the filling of a vacancy in the legislature without an election if only one person qualifies and declares a candidacy in an election to fill the vacancy. So here again, only the legislature may provide for the filling of any vacancy. So even if Governor Abbott and the Attorney General were successful in declaring those 13 members vacant, they still need a quorum to fill those seats. So what this means is that the Attorney General and the Governor really they don't have any standing to sue the legislatures because the Texas Supreme Court cannot remedy the situation anyway because it takes a legislature to remedy that particular situation. So there's basically no standing for this particular situation. All right, let's go back to Google. Let's look at, let's say, the surplus. Texas reports 33 billion surplus. Let's see, Texas's era of state budget surpluses may be coming. Oh, this is Texas Tribune. Let me see this. I haven't read this. Texas lawmakers have gotten used to state budget surpluses. That era may be ending. As federal pandemic aid ends and sales tax revenues cool, analysts say it could constrain the Texas legislature in coming years, but they don't see an immediate budget crisis on the horizon. So from this particular caption alone, even without those 5 extra Republican seats to Congress, Texas is still seeing surpluses in its budget. So where is the emergency? All right. In addition, federal sales tax revenue, Texas lawmakers leaned on a 33 billion surplus in 2023 to pay for an $18 billion property tax cut package, a $5 billion infusion for the new Texas Energy Fund, and a host of infrastructure projects. Lawmakers entered this year's legislative session with a $24 billion surplus, which helped to maintain previous tax cuts, upgrade energy, water, and broadband infrastructure, and cover other new spending items in the upcoming two-year budget cycle. So currently, Texas is operating on a surplus. Even without those five more Republican seats in Congress, Texas is operating on a budget. So there is no emergency. Texas record-breaking surplus is now nearly $33 billion. Oh, that was in 2023. Sure. So anyway, what this means is that there's no emergency for 5 extra Republican seats in the United States Congress. Alright, if you watched this video, I want you to do me a favor. Please leave a comment for me down in the comment section and hit that like button for me. Alright, thanks.